In this unit, you are going to review questions and learn how auxiliary verbs are used in question tags and how they are used to express similarity and difference. In our review of how to form questions, we'll look first at questions with the verb to be and the modal auxiliary verbs can, could, will, would, shall, should, may, might, must, ought, need. After that, we'll study have, used as an auxiliary, and finally all other verbs, those that form questions using the auxiliary verb do. As we have seen, the way questions are formed with the verb to be is to invert the order the subject and verb have in an affirmative sentence, placing the correct form of the verb before the subject. Am I blue? Are you German? Is this your book? Was he tired after the match? Were you studying when I phoned? Remember that do and did cannot be used to make questions with to be. Do you be German? Did he be tired? Are mistakes. With to be and with the modal auxiliary verbs we'll look at shortly, negative questions can be formed in two ways. Most often, the negative contracted form of the verb is placed before the subject. Aren't you tired? Wasn't she in school today? Why weren't you at the station? In formal writing, we do not usually use contractions, so we use verb plus subject, followed by not to form negative questions. You will not see this form very often. Am I not a man and a brother? Was it not a wonderful year? Questions with modal auxiliary verbs are also formed by placing the verb before the subject. Remember that modal verbs are always followed by the base form of another verb. The only exception is ought, which is followed by the infinitive with to. Only the auxiliary verb is placed before the subject. The rest of the verb phrase follows the subject. Not will visit Australia this year, the Prime Minister and his family. But will the Prime Minister and his family visit Australia this year? Everything we've said about to be in questions applies to modal auxiliary verbs. It is a mistake to use do. Do you can come to my party is a mistake. Can you come to my party is correct. Negative questions are normally formed using the negative contracted form of the verb before the subject. Can't you work a bit harder? Shouldn't Jim be more careful? Wouldn't it be a good idea? Why won't Alice be there? Couldn't I just turn the television on for a few minutes? Mustn't you be going now? Oughtn't they to be here by now? Shan't I tell her? Questions with mightn't and needn't are rare except in very formal language. There is no negative contracted form of may. Let's look now at other verbs, those that form questions using do, does for the present and did for the past. In forming questions, there are three important differences between these verbs and be and the modal auxiliaries you've just studied. You cannot form questions using subject-verb inversion. Like you music? What means this word? Are mistakes. We use do, does to form present tense questions and did for past tense questions, except as explained at the beginning of the lesson. In speech, when using declarative sentences as questions, you like that music? Or, as I'll explain in a moment, in questions when the subject is who, what, or which. After do, does, did, we use affirmative sentence word order. Take the affirmative sentence. You like music? The question is formed placing do before the entire sentence. Do you like music? Remember that we always use the base verb after do, does, did. In the third person singular, we do not use the verb plus s, and after did, we use the base verb, not the past tense. Does she likes music? What does this word means? Did he went to Mexico last year? Are mistakes. Does she like music? What does this word mean? Did he go to Mexico last year? Are correct. The exception to these rules are questions which have who, what, or which as a subject. When this is the case, the verb comes immediately after the question word, and it can be in the third person singular or in the simple past tense. Do, does, did are not used. Look at these questions in which the only subject is the question word. Who lives here? Who came to your party? What happened? Which works better? Remember that when the question has another subject and who, what, or which are the object, you must use do, does, or did. What does he live on? Who did you invite to the party? What did you do? Which do you want? The rules for negative questions with do, does, did are basically the same as those already presented for to be and other auxiliary verbs. We normally use contracted forms. Don't you think it would be a good idea? Doesn't he care? Didn't they know what was happening? Question tags are brief questions made of an auxiliary verb plus personal pronoun. They are not often used in writing, but they are very frequent in speech. They are placed at the end of affirmative or negative sentences, but not after questions. They are used to ask for confirmation or elicit agreement. Let's look at how question tags are formed. For the sentence, "You're French," we form the question tag using the verb in the sentence, are, and the pronoun you. When the sentence is affirmative, we generally use a negative question tag. "You're French, aren't you?" Using question tags correctly means concentrating. You have to use the same auxiliary verb and pronoun that are used in the sentence. You have to use question form, and normally you'll use a negative tag with an affirmative sentence and an affirmative tag with a negative sentence. Here are some more examples of sentences with question tags. First, affirmative sentences with negative question tags. You were born in Paris, weren't you? You can speak English, can't you? It's a lovely day, isn't it? They've left, haven't they? And now, negative sentences with affirmative question tags. She wasn't there, was she? You can't speak German, can you? It isn't raining again, is it? They haven't phoned yet, have they? After sentences with I am, the question tag in speaking is normally aren't I. In writing, am I not, can also be used as a question tag. I'm meeting him at 12, aren't I? When there is no auxiliary verb in the sentence, the question tag is formed with do, does, or did. You go to school on Saturday, don't you? She loves animals, doesn't she? You saw him yesterday, didn't you? They don't go to the mountains every weekend, do they? She doesn't like cold weather, does she? You didn't used to like ballet, did you? There can be used as the subject of a question tag. There haven't been any phone calls for me, have there? When the subject of the sentence is nobody, somebody, someone, everybody, everyone, we usually use they in the question tag. Nobody phoned, did they? Everyone's ready, aren't they? Somebody's been sitting in my chair, haven't they? When using let's in suggestions, you can use the question tag, shall we? Let's give her some perfume, shall we? With imperatives, you can use won't to invite, will or would to tell people to do things. Have a seat, won't you? Close the door, will you? Drive a bit more carefully, would you? After negative imperatives, only will you can be used. Don't be late, will you? Question tags are also used to ask for help or for information. You don't know where my umbrella is, do you? You couldn't give me a lift to the station, could you? You haven't seen Mary, have you? It is also possible to use affirmative question tags after affirmative sentences. We can do this to express surprise, interest, or concern. They're getting married, are they? You've got a headache, have you? Your daughter's studying medicine, is she? An affirmative question tag after an affirmative question can also express anger. He wants me to wash the dishes again, does he? You can also use affirmative tags after affirmative sentences to ask if information is correct. You've been ill, have you? This is my stop, is it? Negative sentences followed by negative tag questions are not used very often. We use short questions similar in form to question tags to show interest in what another person is saying. Normally, we use an affirmative question in reply to an affirmative statement and a negative question in reply to a negative statement. I'm from Texas. Are you? My brother's getting married in June. Is he? She can speak 6 languages. Can she? I forgot to bring my book. Did you? I didn't like the film. Didn't you? I've never had measles. Haven't you? It wasn't a very interesting book. Wasn't it? If you use a negative reply question in response to an affirmative statement, this indicates very strong agreement. It's a lovely day. Yes, isn't it? The meal was fantastic, wasn't it? When we wish to indicate similarity, we can use either so or to respond to affirmative sentences, and neither, nor, or not either to respond to negative sentences. If the sentence contains be, have, or a modal auxiliary, the same verb is used. If the sentence does not contain an auxiliary verb, we use do, does, or did. The subject can be a noun, personal pronoun, or possessive pronoun, depending on meaning. With an affirmative sentence, we can express similarity by using a subject plus auxiliary followed by to. John's living in London. I am too. My sister is studying Russian. Mine is too. I play golf. Mary does too. I've got a dog. I've got one too. When we use so, it is used before the auxiliary verb plus subject. Note the word order with verb before subject. Mary's Irish. So am I. Liam was born in Dublin. So was John. I can play the piano. So can I. Anne has got a cold. So have I. I'll have chicken and a salad. So will I. Jim's sister loves horse riding. So does mine. I lived in Holland for a year. So did my parents. I'd really love a cup of coffee. So would I. You should study more. So should you. I really must go now. So must we. When we respond to a negative sentence, we can use not either. I'm not going away for the weekend. We're not either. I've never seen him before. I haven't either. Or you can use neither or nor, followed by an auxiliary verb and subject. It makes no difference whether you use neither or nor. Remember that the auxiliary verb comes before the subject. I'm not tired. Neither am I. Jim wasn't at work today. Neither was George. I can't stand that music. Neither can I. He doesn't like living in the city. Neither do we. I haven't seen the film. Neither have I. Mary didn't go to university. Neither did Anne. Remember that it is absolutely essential to use an auxiliary verb in these constructions. You cannot say, also I, neither George. We express difference by responding to an affirmative sentence with a subject plus negative auxiliary verb. Normal word order is used. When there is no auxiliary in the original sentence, we use don't, doesn't, didn't. I'm from Canada. I'm not. I can swim. I can't. Mary loves travelling. Jim doesn't. I thought it was an interesting film. They didn't. I'll have another sandwich. I won't. To indicate difference when responding to a negative sentence, we use a subject plus affirmative auxiliary verb. I'm not from Canada. I am. I can't swim. I can. Mary doesn't like travelling. Jim does. They didn't like the film. My parents did. I won't have another sandwich. I will. That is the end of the lesson. Now you can do the exercises on the grammar points presented in this unit.